Welcome back, everybody, to the ATL Baseball Podcast. I'm your host, Michael Shepard. I'm joined today, once again, by JJ Edwards, the head coach of Wofford Baseball, starting his second year at the helm. JJ, how long have you been there total?
I think the answer is 14 years. 14 years.
It can't be too long, baby. You guys had a bunch of success this past year, and obviously, got a great relationship, and we've got some ATL Lightning kids going there. Have some kids there already, so I love to see that. Last year when we talked to you, you were fresh, right out, first year head coach, following big footsteps. Obviously, you guys had a great year, but how'd that experience go being the guy?
There's a lot. It's a question I get all the time, Shep, and it is hard to answer because there is so many things that is unreal being a head coach.
Mm-hmm.
Like I love messaging. I love telling our guys and being like, hey, what you're saying is kind of going, or at least that's what you're trying to do.
Mm-hmm.
And there's stuff like that. I was just like, yeah, like that is awesome. That's what I love. I love creating the schedule. I love at the end of the day being the final say of, hey, this is what we're doing in practice. This is what I think I need. I think that is great. I didn't think I was going to enjoy that side as much as I did. And that kind of keeps you going. It's by far the best. The things that stink are you walk into the office and you have a list. I have a list going right now of like 7 things, and I was like, okay, I got to do this, and then you get like 4 things added on before you even get to your list of 7. You're just somebody walks in and goes, hey, I have, I'm sick and I don't feel good, and now I have to send them to the wellness center or go tell them to go see our, and it's just all of a sudden a handful of things before you even get to your list is going there is kind of trumping what's going on your list. So that part is not great, but part of it. If you're going to sit in this chair, you're going to have to do that stuff as well. But I'm such a list. Write down, and all of a sudden I'm like, I got to get to these 7 things, and you're 2 hours into work, and you're like, I haven't even touched it. I haven't even looked at it.
You have to. I mean, you have to delegate, right? Like you have
I
to.
try. Yeah,
You
I
have to
try.
have
Our
like,
assistants are great.
and not just like, obviously there's some stuff that you can't delegate, but like that
Right.
stuff that you probably didn't handle as an assistant coach, now you're handling as a head coach, and stuff that you handled as an assistant you just don't have time for as a head coach. I'm
For
I'm,
sure.
I'm sure. So,
And there's
um,
some things you don't want to give up. Like there's a lot of things I like. I'm just sitting there going, Shep, I was a hitting coach for 12 years.
mm-hmm.
And Hudson does a phenomenal job. Our hitting coach does a phenomenal job. And he's a Wofford player and graduated from Wofford, and he's been with us for 3 years. So like the language and the way about it, and I'm just sitting there going like, like I like that side so much too. Like, but then you're sitting there going, I used to have 2 hours to game plan. Now I have 35 minutes to game plan. So Hudson's got to do a lot more and all of that stuff. But you're right. It is hard giving up that. But at one point you're sitting there going, well, I can't wear 17 hats. I can wear 10. I can't wear 17. I
Yeah,
gotta I gotta give up some options here.
yeah, and I mean you have a family and kids, so like that hat obviously always has to take priority, as much as it can when
For
you're
sure.
running a program. So, uh, tell us, what was the experience like against coming back, winning 2 in the final day
Yeah,
in your conference tournament, um, which, by the way, we watched on ESPN Plus, and
that's right.
I think, I mean, dude, that's sick. Like, mid-major baseball being
It,
broadcasted.
it's the best. It is the best,
It's not like
man.
a little like game changer. Can't
Mm,
camera mom and dad is like, hey guys, for everyone that can't stream, this is the parents chat. I'm gonna stream from my phone. Like, that's
yeah.
actually really good.
Yeah, it's a
Can't.
full broadcast. It's
It's
unreal.
amazing. It's
Yeah.
amazing. My wife was like, she gets ESPN Plus to watch softball, and she was like, aren't you friends with the Wofford coaches? I was like, yeah. She's like, well, you need to get your butt home because they're on ESPN Plus right now, and I'm watching them. I was like, there's no crap, really. She's like,
Yeah.
yeah. So I came home
Yeah.
and she, like, first couple games, she's like, which is the guy that you know really well? I was like, the guy that's in the dugout sitting there just step looks like that. He's just like cool, calm, and collected. He's probably like, oh, So
No, I'll say
that
this,
was
Chef.
sick. So what was the
I
experience
think
like?
it was unreal. It was unreal.
Mm-hmm.
Now I go back. I think a month ago I called our video guy and I said, "Hey, can you send me all 7 games we played in the SoCon tournament?"
Mm-hmm.
Because I will go back and I will watch them to pull information and it just, but there's stuff I just completely. You play 7, you know how it is.
Mm-hmm.
You go watch tournaments, you go in the conference tournaments, you go recruit, and you're like, game one, what was that? And I was like, yeah, I know we beat the Citadel, but I don't know how.
Mm-hmm.
I don't remember what was. Oh, David Wiley had the double that kind of broke it open for us. You're like, oh yeah, like I remember that now. But I'll go back and watch. So it was unreal. It's unreal now because you can look back and watch the video and go through everything. But in the moment, we were, fighting like heck and
Oh yeah.
grinding in 7 games in 5 days and trying to figure it out and managing pitching and managing personalities. And this kid was really hot the first 2 games. Now this kid's fading. But in the moment, you don't think anything of it because you're doing what we get paid to do and what we love to do and what we're passionate about. And then when it was over, you're just sitting there going like, wow, like unreal. I remember going home and I'm very fortunate that all of our wives in our program are really close. Like they have a group chat, they go to wine night, like they do all of that
Yeah.
stuff.
Yes. Yes. Yes.
And I remember coming home and my wife going, "Hey, all of our wives want to, we want to go out and we want to celebrate." And all of us coaches are like, "We just played 7 in 5 days." Like I'm really excited. I am honored as I go, I just want to like my celebration can be rest and we can really enjoy it
Can
with
we
my
all watch
kids.
Netflix?
Yeah, can we just
Yeah.
have a good brunch in the morning at like 11:30? Like that would be great because the girls are going to be up at
Oh
the
yeah.
girls are going to be up at that time no matter what. Like the girls are getting up at 6 a.m. no matter what. They don't know we won. They don't know we lost. It doesn't mean anything to them. But they all drug us out and we're sitting in the bar and they're like, "You should celebrate." And I was like, "Yeah, I'll have 2 waters because I'm probably dehydrated as all get out and a good mozzarella stick over here and I'm good to go and get after it tomorrow."
Let me ask you: were you able to just watch it as a fan? Like, did you take just step back for a minute and just like watch the games as like a fan, just as
I'm gonna
not
ask you this
dissecting it?
question. As a coach, can you ever really watch baseball as a fan?
That depend.
I
That
cannot. The answer is I
depends.
cannot. Like I'm watching the playoffs right now, and I can't. I'm sitting there and go, what do we do? Like the base running last night, who did a really good one? Machado ran in when Freddie was trying to throw it to second. Did you see that play last night? And
Mm-hmm.
he's like, he was on the outside, and all of a sudden he's like, oh, he's down on his knee. Like he dove on the inside, and he just hits him in the back, and you're like, wow, that's a good play.
Oh
Like
yeah,
that's
I
a
mean,
good play.
I could watch it like that.
Yeah, I just don't think I
You're
can't turn myself off from that. I can't turn
as a
myself
baseball
off
guy,
from that.
you're still like making comments about like I'll even talk to you know like when I'm watching it with Molly because she loves watching the playoffs. I'm so thankful that she is like into sports and things because
Yeah, it's huge.
I'll be like, I need to. Can we rewind this? Because I need to like, and I'll have my camera out and I'm filming. Like one of the Indian or like when a Yankees guy gets a good momentum lead to steal a base, right? Like
Yeah,
I'm
yeah.
like, I need to record this because like my kids aren't picking it up, and it's hard to do in drills, and I do it, but like I need them to see this. I could
Right,
watch it
right.
like that. Of course, when you're watching your team like the Guardians, like I'm like, why are we doing that? You know, I mean,
I like
uh,
the Guardian style though, man. I like how they play that game.
dude, I did not think they were gonna. They're not supposed to be this, but I mean, we're along for the ride. So yeah,
Yeah,
it's just a rebuilding year.
I mean they're
The-
doing it with guys that don't even. You're like, who? Who's that? Who's playing left? Who's that? Who's that?
it's a bunch of who and Jose
Yeah,
Ramirez.
yeah. That's
So,
exactly what it is.
but yeah, I mean, I can want it's different watching it as a coach. You're correct.
Right.
I just didn't know if you were able to like, like enjoy
No,
that and realize like
I wish
how,
I could. I wish I could. It's just, I think I was just born on this earth to be a coach.
yeah.
And if it wasn't baseball, like if they're like, hey, baseball is no longer a sport tomorrow, I would just go to another sport. Like all of a sudden you'd be like, what is JJ doing? He's like, is that him on the sideline of women's lacrosse? I'm like,
You're gonna be
yep,
like the
that's it.
new Ted Lasso.
That's right. That's right.
Great series, by the way, if you haven't watched that.
Phenomenal. John Wooden, just based off John Wooden. It's great. If you read John Wooden's books, that's all it is.
Um, the next question I wanted to ask you, and I will cut this out if you don't want to answer it, or you can just pass. Uh, it just guy, you might not want to answer it on a podcast. With the new rules and
Uh-huh.
how everything has changed,
Hmm.
I mean, I know it's frustrating, but do you change recruiting at all? Do you change the way you approach things when Wofford baseball is competing against LSU, and then the following summer, like you guys lose 3 or 4 kids to
Hmm.
transferring, and it's
Hmm.
not because they're grad transferring. It's
Yeah, yeah.
I'm the man at Wofford, and I'm transferring elsewhere. Are they transferring because an LI that's more money, or it's a bigger school? Like and you don't have to answer. Like I don't want to put you
Yeah,
on the
yeah,
spot
yeah.
here.
No, I would love it. I think we need to bring more light to this stuff.
Or you can vent and
No, no.
be
I
Stephen
to be
A.
honest with you,
Skip
you
Bayless
would.
here.
Yeah, I think you would. I know what they tell me. I know what they tell me, and they are telling me what makes me feel better, the best in a bad situation
Mm-hmm.
is what they're telling me. And it's always, Coach, I really love you. I really love Wofford. And I'm like, yeah, like if I'm going to break up with a girl, I'm going to say the same thing, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, hey,
Yeah,
it's not you, it's
of
me.
course, of
And I
course.
feel, but at the same time, they're leaving your program, and it might be a monetary thing, it might be an exposure thing, um, all the way through. But I mean, it's where we're at in college athletics, and it's tough to be a part of. But I told those, like, when we had it happen to us this past year, a lot of people came up and they're like, "Are you okay? Like, are you okay?" And I said, "Yeah, I don't have time. I don't
Mm-hmm.
have time or energy to waste on that. I have to
100%.
continue to work on our roster. I have to continue to develop our guys who want to be here. And I can't waste 15, 20 minutes of my energy, my time, my passion talking about somebody that is no longer at Wofford. And so I try to kibosh it as much as possible, and just go on and be like, okay, what's our next move? What's our next thing? What do we need to do? How do we get these guys better? Like, and all of, and I think the aspect of it, of like wasting your time, is it will kill you. It will kill you. You'll sit there like, well, what if, like, you get in those what if situations? Well, what if
Yeah.
he stayed? And you're just like, yeah, yeah, but he didn't. And this is where we're at. And this is where we're at. And we have to go with what we have. I can't sit there and go, JJ, you won 42 games your first year, but you won 20 your second year. What happened? I go, well, these three left, so that's why. And I was like, no, like, nobody's using that as an, like, I can't use that as an excuse.
Oh, no, no, you
I
can't.
can't
And
lose my job in 3 years for not being very good, and then be like, well, those three kids left, and like, yeah, that's what you're holding your hat on. Like, that's what you're holding your hat on. Like, I always find it funny that when people walk up and they have down years and they just tell me why they had down years. Well, we lost three kids, and our pitching was down. I told our team yesterday, we do a depth chart release 3 times throughout the fall, and it's legit on the board. It's up for 12 hours. We erase it, and I give them a talk. Like, I give them a good talk and a bad talk at the same time. I sit there and go, you could take it two ways. You could say, screw the coach. Like, I can't believe he did that. He has it out for me. Blah blah blah. Or you can just continue to work your tail off, and be a really good player and continue to climb the ranks, and use it for what it's worth, and it's momentum, or it's motivation, and it's transparency. That's all we're trying to do with it. Um, and I every year I do the same thing every year. This is the second year I've done it, but it is every year. I bring out our lineup. I bring out our lineup from game one. We played Towson last year, game one, and I say to a returning player that played every game, I said, for a reward for the team, tell me the starting lineup last year, the order, the position, and then the pitchers that who came in and the order they came in. I said, tell me, because, like, I'm talking, we're releasing the depth chart. So everybody's like,
mm-hmm,
oh my God, it's the depth chart. This kid it's Tyler Hare. He's a Marist kid from
mm-hmm.
Atlanta. He made it three player. He missed the third hitter. So he went through and he got our leadoff guy right, and our guy who hit two, and then the third hitter he missed. So I'm just sitting there going, that's how much. I go, this is how much this means, like, in the aspect of the game. And I go, we've had guys, and I used another example. I go, we had a kid last year who was the fourth on the catching depth chart. I think every single one, if not two out of three of them for the year. for all the depth charts rankings, and he had 160 at bats and played pretty much every game after the 33% point. And you're just looking and you're going like, okay, does this really mean anything? Like, does this mean? I don't. It does, but it is also doesn't.
Will you change, if at all? How does that affect recruiting? Like,
Yeah. So I think it goes to your school. I really do. So like I look up and I go, when parents come in, and it's the number one question we get when August 1st roll around, you can make phone calls. Shep, everybody's like, hey, this is my school, this is my school. And then I go, what questions do you have for me? And they all ask, hey, with this new 34-man roster and the portal, what are you guys willing to do? And I think it's funny because they talk to schools that are trying to portal heavy. And I go, what are other schools saying? And he goes, well, they all said they're very high school heavy. And I go, that's weird because they signed 10 kids out of the portal. So how high school heavy are you? I think it comes to the school. So I'm looking at Wofford College. We just got ranked 57th best school in the country.
there you
So
go.
I'm sitting there going, is a transfer you got to come in with all the credits. They have to come in with a degree we have.
Academically, you were ranked
Yeah,
57. Okay.
yeah, correct. Baseball, I think we were ranked 50, so we're a tick better than the school.
They must not take coaching abilities in account.
No, yeah. Then we've been like
You'd be
146.
triple digits easy, right?
Yeah, no doubt. We're fighting like heck to be top 200. And I just think it comes to the school. Like our school values the high school kid. Our school values the high school kid, which means we have to value the high school kid.
Mm-hmm.
Like if they're not taking all the credits from the transfer and they're not going to take XY university, directional school universities credits, I go, then we'd be kind of trying to buy things that we don't have currency for. Like it doesn't work.
Mm-hmm.
So we are considering continuing to do high school. And now I think going high school is a lot harder in the aspect of we have a lot of first year players on our field right now, and we had an intersquad last Wednesday. And if I could rip out every piece of hair I had, I probably could. I should have. Like I was as frustrated could be. I talked to Todd the next morning, and he goes, "What's going on down there?" I go, "I'm the worst coach in America. That's what's happening in Spartanburg right now." But you just have a lot of guys who don't know the language and don't know what college baseball is yet, and they're going through the experiences. So you're just trying to, and I think as a true coach, that's what we want to coach. Like if you don't want to coach, have a fifth year guys and be like, here, play ball, guys. So I think the true essence of a coach wants to coach. So I think the young guys really help that out. Now, if our school had a grad school and took transfers and the transfers were easy to get in, I think I would be saying something totally different. But I'm just telling you,
of course,
yeah, like this is the hand we're dealt, so I got to play it, and when people are like, "How are you going to do it?" I was like, "Well, this is the hand we're dealt, so we're gonna make the best of it, and we're gonna maximize." And I met with our AD and I met with our president, and they're like, "How does this change?" I go, "It's not changing. Our school's not changing for this rule." They're like, "No," and I was like, "So we have to coach our faces off, get these guys as ready for the season as possibly can, and go on with life."
Yeah, and I mean when I ask you, like how does it change? Like I have no doubt in my mind that you'll, with how your school is laid out and what your school values and what your program values, you guys will figure it out what works. And
I hope so.
You will. Like I have confidence in you guys. It's why you guys are one of my first calls. If I have anybody that can walk and chew gum and has good academics, it's more so I am curious to hear like what your approach is, or if it's changed, or you know what I mean. And honestly, years ago when I was still coaching college and I played D2 and I coached D3, and I never really had the ambition to go like Power 5 D1. Once I got in D3, just because I liked the model of investing in high school kids. And I mean, if I would have went a Division I route, I would have wanted to go somewhere like a Wofford that invests in kids.
Right.
And you're not turning a roster over every year with transfers because I mean that 4 year relationship is awesome. And when you get young kids, like you have to teach them all the things that
Yeah,
you guys are about. But what's really cool is when those young kids become older, and then you have a mix of young and old. Your older guys are then teaching the younger guys
it's
the ways, and
it's such a good point.
it
That is a good point.
it's you know how it is. It sticks better when they say something
Yeah.
other than
I said that last week. I said that last week. We have a right fielder who's been with us named David Wiley from Athens, North Oconee High School, and we implemented something for the first time, double steals, something along the lines of like, not a lot of high school guys are getting that thrown onto them. And I just looked over and we explained it. Coach Byork explained it, and we're sitting there and we're talking, and then you just listen. Like the drill's over, we're segueing into team defense or NDD or whatever we're doing, and I look, and David Wiley is coaching as hard as anybody else on our team, any coach on our team, just coaching these young guys because one, they feel more comfortable talking to David because it's a peer, and it's
hmm
not like he's trying to be the leader of like, no, this is what we do, and ruling with an iron fist. Like he doesn't have to do it. He's just, no, hey, this is what you do. This is what, remember, we're trying to do this with our feet, and just doing a phenomenal job. And I grabbed him in the cage and I go, that's why I love being at Wofford College, because you have that mix
hmm
of, you have that first year guy, and then you have David who knows our language for 4 years and can teach it, with his eyes closed, and as long with us. And you're just sitting there going like, yeah, these guys just get it everywhere. They get it from us on the field, and then when they go to the locker room and they go hang out and they go to, eat, they're, the language is just continuing to go because these guys know it as much as anybody else. And the other thing I always tell David is, though, you know how it is as you've been in a college program, they always crush the freshmen don't know the signs, this is ridiculous, blah blah blah, like they all say that stuff. And then you just keep reminding them, yeah, 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 3 years ago you guys were as bad as they were.
Oh yeah.
Like it's 3 years ago, hey, everybody has to learn Spanish 101 before we go to 401, guys. Like it's kind of how it works. So, and David's class was the worst. I think they led the nation in up downs that year for missing signs. And but now he's sitting there, he's like, what do you do? And you're just like, he's like, no, we were bad too. Let me help you here. Let me help you. Let me get you there. So we don't have to continue to do up downs.
Do you? I have I got a question from our 17U coach.
Mm-hmm.
I just said I had you on today. Was there anything that this is his first year coaching that level, so he's coaching the A team. He's had that team for like 3 or 4 years, I think. So I'm going to coach the B.
Okay.
Well, we don't call it A B anymore. We
Right. You know what I mean?
colors now, but um, recruiting wise, he's new to all that and developing
Mm-hmm.
relationships. So I said, what kind of questions you got for JJ? So the one thing that he had, and it came up this weekend when we were in Florida, was a player sees a coach, scout, or recruiter at a game, should he introduce himself, or is it better to leave them alone? And the same question goes for a parent, and it doesn't make a difference at all if you've had prior contact with that coach or school.
Great question. I'm going to give my opinion. Of course,
Of course,
there's 301 Division Ones. This is the one. This is one of 301.
150 of 301 is where you rank.
As a head coach, yeah, yeah, for sure. Where I would say was previous relationship, yes, say hi. Um, Most of the time we want to go directly to the coach, and we will communicate with pleasantries with the parents or the kid if we want to. Like if we want to. The number one pet, one of the number one pet peeves, not the number one, but up on the podium of the Mount Rushmore ish, whatever we want to use here, is the email, like the stray email. Hey, Coach Edwards, I saw you at the Atlanta Lightning game today. Wanted to know your opinion on me as a player.
Right.
Never communicated with them, never heard from them, nothing along those lines. And because you're sitting there going, hey, I'm going there looking at three guys. Like, is it a cold call? A cold call means like you're just showing up and watching the whole game. Am I going there to watch Shep play? Am I going there to watch these two kids? So like all of a sudden you're just putting the coach and be like, hey, what did you think of me playing? And you're just sitting there going, I don't. I might have taken notes on you. I might have not taken notes on you, but I don't really have a relationship with you going forward. So I feel like that's a very out in front thought. So that is my thing is we will talk to the coaches. Coaches, of course, coaches come up, communicate, do all of
Right.
that stuff, give you a roster. I mean, because that's part of your job is promoting your guys.
Oh, you know I'm
Um,
coming and talking
no, for
to
sure,
whoever.
as you should.
Yeah, I got no problem. I got no
The amount
problem.
of
I
times I'm at
talk too
North
much.
Atlanta High School and I'm watching you guys play, and the coach for the next time slot comes in. He's like, "Hey, coach, are you staying for the next time slot?" And I'm like, "Unfortunately, I'm not." And he'll go, "Well, here's my roster. There's 5 academic kids that might fit you. Blah blah blah. The starting pitcher, and then you stay for 10 minutes to see if it's worth something." Like,
Hmm.
sure, that's a
Yeah.
great sales pitch and an idea to do. But the parents coming up trying to do the awkward break the ice of, "Hey, where are you from? Oh, nice. Yeah, yeah." Like we've driven through there once, and like that stuff's for the
Oh,
books.
dude. I mean, whenever I look in the stands of a game and I'm seeing like our parents, God bless them, or any other parents, not even just
Yeah, yeah,
ours, like, because they all do it. Like,
yeah. It's just
they're
you do
just
yours.
talking the ear off of a college coach that I know has never talked to them or their son. I'm just like, oh, dude, like, please don't,
Yeah,
please don't, because
for
like
sure.
most of most of the time the college coach is just going to be cordial and stuff, but like they're there to watch a game.
Yeah,
So like by them holding on in a conversation with you and asking you all the things, they're taking your attention off the game, and it's actually doing a disservice to everybody. And like you said, like if you go to a game and you like one of our guys that I not sent you, like you're gonna reach out
for
either
sure.
to me or one of the other coaches that you have a relationship with and say, hey, what about this kid? You know what I mean? It's not just gonna you're not gonna put your head on your pillow at night and say, man, I really wish I would have known who that kid was.
Right.
Could have been different.
And I think the other parent perspective is if the parent doesn't come up and talk to a college coach, it will never like no, we're not taking that as a negative for the
Mm-mm.
player. Like we'll never walk away going that's a negative for the player.
Mm-hmm.
But if we do it the other way and a parent comes up and is like ripping our ear off, you're sitting there going like some coaches might say, "Yeah, that's fine. Like I get it. It's just being a parent," or somebody would be like, "Yeah, that's too much. Like I'm good." Like it could be a negative if you come up and talk. It will never be a negative if you just stay in your lane.
And I also don't even think I don't think it's like if a coach is coming to watch a certain player and their parent is there and they know like, hey, Walford's coming. I don't think it's terrible to come up and just, hey, coach, I'm so and so's parent. Good to see you here. You know
Perfect.
what I mean? Like
Yeah.
that's enough. You know,
Yeah.
and like I know you said in our other podcast, which if anyone's listened to this that has not listened to our first one, you listen to the first one that has much more info on recruiting and how to conduct yourself. Um, you want to talk to the parents an appropriate amount, right? Like
Correct.
you're going to be
Don't get me
spending.
going on this. Don't get me going.
I won't, because they can go back
Or
and
get me going on it if you want. If we
we've
want.
only got like 18 minutes left, so I don't because you're absolutely right, and I do love to hear you vent with the passion on that. But parents, let your son drive the recruiting, and let the coaches make those introductions. You know what I mean?
Right.
Because again, there's especially if you and I have a relationship, there's never going to be a player that you're curious about in our program that you don't ask me about. You know.
For sure.
Um, but anyways, forgot what I was going to say next. Is with the 34 man rule. I know
Mm-hmm.
when I had Josh on, he said that it was not official yet, but it was moving that way and everyone's planning for that. Is there any update on that?
So the last I heard, so it is the last I heard, and now news might come out in 2 weeks, is it's going to depend on your kind of your level, meaning if you're a FBS school bowl that plays big time football, it looks like that is you are trending to it's happening. It might be next year, it might be the following year, all of that. The other thing that I've heard from, way bigger people than myself is if you are not, you can opt in or you can kind of stay where you're at, meaning like 11.7 and 40. is what I've heard. Now,
Or you can go 34 and unlimited.
34 and unlimited scholarships. Yeah.
Hmm.
So now our school, I'll talk for our school. I'm guessing, or most of our level would just kind of stay where we're at. And that could be a big advantage of carrying 40 instead of 34. But everybody says something different. And I talk to our compliance and I talk to our AD and I talk to the commissioner and I talk to the head coaches meetings and it changes daily. So
Does
like
it have to be
quote
per?
me, don't quote me. I have no idea.
Does it have to be per sport? Like if softball was like, I don't want to get. I'd
I
rather.
think it's the school. I think
Okay.
the school does it because what happens with us, Shep, is like you go unlimited, but people are like, oh, baseball is going to go to 34 scholarships, and you're like, well, if baseball goes, softball goes, volleyball goes, soccer goes all the way through, and you're like, okay, so if baseball gets one, that means all the other sports. That's 8 scholarships that we have to hand out for after you do the swing of all the sports. So you're looking up going, okay, if we want to go fully funded with baseball, that is roughly 120 scholarships that the school needs to now create for other sports.
The other thing, like you're like realistically, you're not going to do that, right? Like a school your
Oh, not at
size.
all.
So it's better for you to stay at a number 11.7 that you can obtain from the school, but you can
And
also
then
have
your
those
roster. Yeah,
6 extra kids that if you get a transfer late, like it allows you some wiggle room because I don't want to say you're taking projects, but like you need
you can. You can.
you can, and that allows you to miss
For
because
sure.
you're right, you're not LSU, you're not getting the finished package usually.
No,
You're getting like maybe the 3 or 4 tool guy where they're getting the 5, and
for sure.
you're
Like the whole thing that's happening is the guy that we've seen a million times. Man, those are a lot of tools. If he puts it together,
mhm.
like he's going to be a really good player. Like we could still probably go get that kid and give him a year and 2 to figure it out. Where the other ones are going, no, if he's not ready, like we can't take him right now. We need to win now.
Mhm.
Like, and if you move your roster limit around a little bit, and if we could stay at 40, but who knows? But if you could do that, you could sit there and go, hey, like maybe this kid, he signs as a junior to senior, and then has a really good senior year, and then we send him to collegiate summer leagues, and we do everything, and he comes in, and you go, yeah, he's really good. I'm glad we took him. Where the other ones probably need to have more finished product,
Mhm. Yeah, I mean, because you can't miss, and I mean, like
for sure.
we mentioned earlier, I forget what we were talking about, but this is how you put food on the table for your family, right? Your wife
For
and,
sure.
and you have kids too, right?
2 girls, yeah, 2 girls.
All right. So like you mentioned that if you were at a different school, you'd be talking about the transfer portal differently
Mm-hmm.
because you got to do what you got to do to win. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
you could be the nicest guy in the world and fundraise and donate your whole salary to charity, whatever. But if you're not getting it done, like they're gonna say, "Hey, does Ti got any assistant openings?" Because you got to go
Yeah,
ask. You know what I mean? They're
I'll be
gonna.
coaching the women's lacrosse team here. That's what I'll be doing. Coaching my bag off out there.
Right. So like you have to do what you have to do to win and stay within reason of your morals and what feels right and
For
want
sure.
all that. But at the end of the day, like you got to keep a job. It's more than just I want to coach because I love coaching. It's like you have other responsibilities now.
For sure.
So you guys do it the right way though. Again, like I've always said that, and I've always spread your praises. And I mean, it's no surprise that we've had I don't know how many guys on this podcast that have had ties to Wofford. They're
Yeah.
not at Wofford now, but like
Yeah,
were
yeah.
at Wofford.
They're part of the tree, right?
They're part of the tree. Whether the TI tree, but now we have the JJ tree that's
No, I'm just a branch.
underneath the TI tree, but it's still it's its own tree now, and you're gonna lose assistance, and it sucks for you, I imagine, but it's a feather in your cap. You know what I mean? You're doing something right. That every time someone leaves Wofford, they're moving either up in the coaching ranks in terms of getting
For sure.
full-time job like Tinkham,
Yeah.
or they're going to Notre Dame, or they're going to Georgia Tech.
Yeah.
I think once Schulman left, I think I texted you. You either were busy or you were just like, yeah, I don't want to hear it today. I said something about like, I don't remember exactly what I said, but something about like your guys are getting poached.
Yeah, you
Like you get
did.
used to that or something. Like, and you were like, I don't remember what you said, but it was like just a short response. I was like, oh, JJ's either busy or he's like, yeah, I don't want to hear it, Jeff. I know it sucks. I mean, it sucks losing
I
good
think
people.
part yeah, that's I mean, you're losing good people, and I think at a school like this, it's the same thing with you're trying to develop coaches too.
Oh yeah.
I think that's as hard as, if not harder than coaching players is like developing, because we're Wofford. We don't pay the end of the world money, which is fine because it's more, hey, it's a good spot, it's a great spot to be, it's a great town to live in, like all of that. I go, but there's some development on that side too,
Hmm.
and it's just good to see like the growth of all those guys. And I need to grow as much as anybody else. Like I need to figure out how to delegate and start, giving up stuff like that and getting these young assistants, because that's what we get most of the time is young
Hmm.
guys that they have to, at 25 years old, I look back and go, God, what the heck was I doing out there? And
Oh
now
yeah,
that
dude.
and you just look back. I had lunch with a kid last year. He goes, man, I wish when I was here, we were doing, and he said something hitting, and I go, how many times do I need to apologize to you? I wasn't a good coach at 25. Like, how many times do I need to say sorry? I go, I just made up for it with like, hey, yeah, you want me to go hit you? You want me to go hit you, Fungo? Like, and I'll just do whatever needed. I go, now I'd sit there and be like, before I'd spend 8 hours to give you 50 minutes, like an hour of good material. Now I can give you 2 hours of an hour of good material. Like we just become better with what we're trying to do.
I when I never really had a hitting coach. The first time I actually had like hitting instruction was when I was in college, and our coach Tyler Engel played for Ohio State. He was our GA, and he taught swing down to create backspin. So
Yeah.
like when I coached my first until I got to Oglethorpe, my first 3 years, when I was at Iowa Wesleyan, like that's how I had the whole
Yeah.
hitters, and that's how I taught. And one of the guys that played for me is one of my favorite kids. I play fantasy. I play in a bunch of fantasy leagues with him now. He's in every football and baseball league that I run. We talked about that where I was like, dude, I just taught hitting wrong. I didn't know any better. I had no idea. Like I'm
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
sorry. Like I wasted your time. I didn't make you better. He just laughed and goes, yeah, that way of hitting wasn't it. He's like, but like, don't feel bad about it. Like you were just, you were doing your best, and like, that's just what you know. And it's,
Yeah. Yeah. You don't know until you know, right? Like we're sitting there like, I got to figure it out. I figured it. And I talked to one of my good buddies, is up in the Northeast, and I talk to him all the time. And he goes, "Why do you like?" Because he's no family, like just married to the game, married to his job, like
mm-hmm.
part of it. And I go, "What?" Like every day, I'm like, "What else do I need to know? Like, what else is what am I like? What's on the trend?" Like he'll talk to pro ball guys, and I go, "What am I?" And he goes, "Why are you like so into this?" I go, "Because I just don't want to lose the edge. Like I don't want to be the head coach that as soon as he became a head coach in 2023, like that's where his baseball like knowledge and development faded off because now he's got to do all the administrative stuff." I go, so I am so on the other side of like listen to a podcast, listen, like watch baseball on TV, like go read articles, do things like, and I'm just like, I'm not gonna be the guy who in 10 years he's going to instruct hitting and they're like, man, your stuff hasn't evolved at all in 10 years. I
it's
go, yeah, I'm not doing that.
it's so hard too because when you win and you're successful and your system and philosophies work, you don't want to overhaul everything,
For sure, for sure.
but you also, again, you have to evolve. Finding the right appropriate amount of evolution
It's a yeah.
is the fine line. Because my high school coach, who I respect more than any other baseball coach in the world, he's so old school, and we talk, I don't know, once a week, and he hates swinging on plane,
Yeah, yeah.
and he's a big bunt guy and just very old school, but he won every everything. He
Yeah. So he's sitting there going like, why am I changing if this is working?
right, and like his way of thinking is like, I want to hit the ball hard in the ground, hit it up the middle. It's easy to catch pop ups, like people aren't, in high school level.
Yeah, yeah, and I mean in high school that probably makes all the sense in the world.
Right, and I tell him like, yeah, Ray, like but you don't you want your kids to develop more into more than just that? Like, even though it might cost you games now. And he's
I'm
like,
interested to hear your answer here.
he just said, I want to teach my kids how to win baseball games. And I want to win baseball games here because if we don't win baseball games, they're not going to buy into anything I say. And then even if I'm telling them the right thing or the wrong thing, it doesn't matter. So if it's successful at this level, why would I change it? Like,
For sure.
ultimately, what you want to do is you want to hit the ball in the barrel and hit it hard. You just want to hit it in the air as far as you can. I just want to hit it and get on base. He's like, so our goal is the same thing. We both want to hit it hard and get on base or make the other team make an error somehow. But you're just teaching them to swing up, and I'm just emphasizing hit the ball on a line or on the ground. I don't want pop-ups. Yeah. So like it's hard because he's never evolved, but again, it's hard that he's 70 years old and we won 2 state championships together, and he's one of the winningest high school coaches in Ohio history. So
yeah, it's kind of tough. And then I think it's such a juggling act of sitting there going, "Hey, we need to." Like you're just kind of thinking the old, remember, like AOL 2.0, 3.0. Like I feel like you're just trying to be like, hey, you're taking this. Can we shape it a little better to make it the 3.0? Can we make it the 4.0? And then the fear is like, do you just out adapt and out develop yourself that you end up back to like zero? You keep going, you keep pushing it, keep pushing it, keep pushing, and you're like, whoop, back at zero. So I don't know. Keeps me up at night. I'm just kidding. I sleep right away.
I mean, yeah, because you got to get. I mean, you're up early in the morning with the kids.
Yeah, too early.
If your baseline of your I don't say your morals, your philosophies are right with hitting and everything, really, all you need to do is tweak things, right? It was a massive shift when people started getting on plane and all that, and I think that's when everybody had to really like look at their selves and their coaching and say how do we want to teach this. But when it comes to hitting, like there's so many different ways to teach getting on plane in terms of like training and drills and like what you think the most important part of the swing might be, like if it's the load or it's the counter rotation, and teach how you can best maximize that and be efficient. And you're always pulling in new drills to help what your goals are. And I think that's the art form. I mean, it's more of an art than science in terms of like adding new things in, taking out things of your philosophies. But you guys will be fine. So
yeah.
What's the plan for JJ? What are you want to what do you want to be when you grow up? You want
to be honest with you, I want to continue to maximize Wofford. I want to win. I want to win wherever I'm at. I don't really foresee myself leaving here because it's such a good spot for me and my family. Like I've been here 14 years.
Of course.
22 games my first year, 20 my second year. And then we've averaged 41 and a half or something like that over the last 3. So like my heart, my blood, sweat, and tears have gone into this place.
Oh yeah.
So I really enjoy that. But I also want to, push myself to the most. So whatever that is. But I make the joke all the time. I was at Wofford for 13 years before becoming the head coach, whatever it was, 12, whatever. And I think I updated my resume one time.
Yeah, I must have really pissed you off that day.
Yeah. I don't even think it was, I think he made me do it, to be honest with you. He's like, hey, I want you to apply for a head coaching job. So that was like the first time I had to update.
You're like, are you firing me and you just want me to land on my feet because you like
me?
No,
yeah. He's like, no, I just want, and I go, I don't even have I don't even have a resume. Like, I think my last resume was the one I sent to you, and it has like instructor and working like a college camp like on it as things. And I was like, man, I really probably got to do this. Like, you know, it's bad when you sit there. You're just like, well, I think it was Oneonta Outlaws of the NYCBL, and Oneonta Outlaws are now not even in that league. They're in the PGCBL. That's how old that was. And I
I
was like, oh, I probably don't need this on my resume anymore.
I asked you that question knowing that like your most coaches aren't going to be like, ah, yeah, I mean, I want to go D1. Like, they're not going to come visit, like, you're going to have a player come visit Wofford and be like, yo, if I do really well this my first year or two here, I'm definitely going to be looking to go.
No, no.
Yeah, but sign me anyways, coach. You're like, you're not going to come on here and be like, I want to leave Wofford. But it's just, so your answer is what I expected. But I actually think, like, you were there for 13 years an assistant, and it wasn't because you couldn't get a head coaching job. Like, you guys were successful. You're personable. It's not like you wouldn't go in an interview and not crush it somewhere, and I actually think, I believe you when you say, like, I want to maximize Wofford, and then you wouldn't leave for any, head coaching job that's at a bigger school. And actually, because when you were an assistant coach there, and one of my pro ball buddies, best friends, said, "You have a hitting guy. I need a minor league hitting guy." And I was like, "Yeah, I got a guy. I'll reach out.
Yeah.
I'll reach out." And he was like, "You know what? It's funny because he said I was actually gonna ask you about that school because he was looking at all the statistics of NCAA, and he was like, how the is Wofford up in all of these levels of high statistics? They're a mid-major. They're up here with, I forget what stats he was rattling off, but like he was looking at some specific stats like, oh my God, that's unreal for a school of a mid-major school to be up there and these stats. So, and obviously it didn't work out. You're still at Wofford, but yeah, you were like, yeah, I think I'm just gonna stay at Wofford. But I was happy that I could recommend.
Yeah. I remember you calling me after going, hey man, he said it was great, so I feel good. That's a win for me. Just gets my street cred up a little bit more.
And I was I was also happy that, like, he didn't call me back and after he talked to you and say, like, what the hell are you recommending that guy for?
Yeah. I mean, that happens times.
No,
happens
so
all the time.
I mean, yeah, like when I tell you to come out and watch a kid and he has 2 errors in the first inning and has 2 strikeouts to start the game.
That was a tough day.
So,
but it's worth the story now.
I know, and that poor kid, he's out of Emory now, and he actually earned the starting spot halfway through the year, so he can play. He
didn't want to play that day for us.
He just had a bad day, so he just had a bad day. There was one more specific quick question I had about recruiting, but I don't remember what was off the top of my head. For a 2026, so a junior this year, what should they be do if they're not on Division I list already? Well, they don't, because some kids are already signed
for sure.
Power 5, obviously. Do you guys have any 2026s signed already?
We have 3 committed. Yeah,
3 committed. What is a kid, if he's not been talking to Division I's, is he in trouble? Is he late?
No.
What should he be doing?
So I've had this conversation. Yeah, I've had this conversation. I know you gotta go. And my thing is this: if where you're at right now, if JJ Edwards was going out and he was not getting attention and not doing, hey, I went to 3 camps, I did this, I played the showcase circuit, I did this. Right now, where you're at is go, if you're not getting the attention you want, go do something to make you become a better baseball player and then almost hit the circuit the next rip. So like you're sitting there
rising senior.
As a rising senior, because what is happening is the portal and all of this is like people aren't jumping on the 26s as fast as they were before. They're just not, like, because back in the day you're like, yeah, we have 28s, we have 27s, we have 20, like they're doing 2 classes. Like 25s just got all discombobulated with all the new rules, and 26s are just starting to sign. And what I would say is, hey, finish your fall season and then really go try to develop your game, strength, speed, go in the weight room, do everything you need. So when you come back out in the spring, and that's like we were sitting there talking yesterday, and we were saying, I would like to have four, possibly five by the time our November camp is done, and then relax, and then we fire back up in March. And I go, so in theory, we're not even halfway done with our class, maybe halfway done with our class. So that all those kids that are like, hey, Wofford doesn't want me, they have 5 months, 4 months to really go develop, get strong, and then we can hit them on March 1 to the summer circuit, and they go develop themselves. I think a lot of people right now are they're just it's like me going to play golf every single day, or like not every day, but like play once a week and saying, well, I'm not really getting better at golf. And you go, well, when's the last time you got a good stretch routine in and worked on your core and went to the putting green and putted for 6 hours and went to the range and did your sand play? And I go, and they're like, well, no, I'm just playing golf. And you're like, yeah, like you can get better playing golf, but you can also get better by going to develop. And then
Right.
when you get your golf game good, you come out of hibernation, you go, oh, I went from 88 to 82. What happened? You're like, well, I developed myself.
So what you're saying basically is like if a 2026 hasn't been in contact with the Division Ones,
Go to the lab, get in the lab and get after it.
right? It's because they need to improve their on play field and or their metrics, throw harder,
For sure.
hit harder, run faster, and in the spring, summer, if it's improved, then they got a shot. If it's
Right.
not improved, you're probably not going to hear back from any Division Ones, and then you're looking at Division Threes, JUCOs, maybe D2s. But
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah.
if
And the thing is, like, so Coach Reynolds, which he saw you guys down there in Fort Myers, that like we're going through, and everybody is looking for the 1% right now. They go to Fort
Mhm.
Myers, they're looking for the best player, blah, blah, blah. And everybody's like, whoa. I go, but not everybody's getting the best player. We got told no 2 days ago to a school in the Midwest. I go, four schools were on that kid. One school actually got to check the box of getting that said player. And
Mhm.
then the three other schools now need to go to 1A, 1B, 1C, 2A, 2B, and they need to go through. So, like, hey, I didn't get contacted. Yeah, everybody's going for the 1% right now.
Mhm.
Everybody wants the 1%, the no brainers, blah, blah, blah. If it is not that, we then have to, oh, we missed out on this kid. Now we have to go to the next guys down our list. So everybody's like, well, I'm not getting, you're like, they're going to come because, only 25%, one-fourth of those schools actually got the kid they wanted. The other 3 out of 4 need to go find somebody else. So that means the next guy comes up and the next guy comes up. So go develop yourself so you are the next guy up.
I actually think, and this may not be a popular opinion, and I could be wrong, some on the other side of it, but I think it's a better timeline and system now than it was. Like, you're getting a kid that is closer to his finished product, where like before, I don't feel like you'd ever see a kid sign his senior year,
No,
like to a Division One
for
school,
sure.
be few and far between. But now, like what you're saying is like,
It's almost like back to like 2000.
yeah, but the timeline's better. You're not seeing like every kid that has a pulse and can throw a little bit as a freshman commit to Power Five, and all those kids are taken up, and they all can't go to that Power Five. So then
Right.
they're left with no school. And you guys are open and willing to recruit a kid going into his senior year if he's
sure.
improved and good enough. Where before, I just feel like that wouldn't happen.
Yeah.
But
I think the weird thing of all of this is I think the high school player is way better than it was
that's
10
what I was gonna
years
say
ago.
too. Like,
Like it's
there's
so
so many
much
more
better.
players.
Like I'll talk to schools, like I'll talk to Tinks up there. And I told him the other day, I go, hey man, it was like a month ago. He was telling me he got engaged. I go, you idiot. But that's another story.
Tink got
And
engaged.
yeah, yeah,
She's an idiot. Oh my
yeah.
god, what is she doing? No,
No,
I'm just
she's a
kidding. We
sweetheart.
love Tink. Good for him.
Yeah, yeah. So I called him and he goes, hey, what's going on? And I said, hey, you need to make sure you are at this event next year. He goes, what? I go, Tinks, I saw 3 kids. I walked over to the event for an hour and I saw 4 kids pitch and it was 90 93, 89 92, 90 91, and then the one kid that was the lowest was 87 89 with a really good breaking ball. And I
Dude,
go, they're out there. Everybody's out there. Like I told I go, I love our 2025 class. Love them to death. Half of them are on your team. Love them to death. I go, if every one of them called us today and said, hey, coach, I can't come to Wofford, whatever, X, Y reason why. I said, we can build our 25 class right now and still be very good. That's what kind of
100%.
talent's out there. That's what kind of talent's out there.
And I
Now,
noticed,
I'm going to go with our 25s right now, and I will not be taking any other 25s. But if that crazy example of like they come, I go, we could still get a really good class because there's that much good high school talent.
oh yeah, and like I even noticed it when I was at Head First this past year. Well, the talent was a little better, but the pitching that coaches were saying no to
Yeah.
was like,
5 years ago, you're like, sign them up, sign two of them, get everyone you can get.
yeah, dude. I'm like, that kid's 80, like Division threes. I'm like, that kid's 83 and throws 2 pitches of strikes.
Yeah.
And the coach is like, I got 12 pitchers that are already, 85, 86, and I've got 4 or 5 of those kids that are 90, 92 at a Division 3 school. And I'm like, so you don't recruit that kid? He goes, 3 years ago, I would be on that kid's doorstep tomorrow. He said, not now.
Yeah. No.
Like I was talking to Richmond and we were watching a kid together and he goes, the fact that this kid's not signed and the fact that this kid's not Division 1 blows my mind. He's like, 7, 8 years ago, this kid's one of our kids.
Yeah.
He's a senior this year. He's like, this kid would be no brainer, no doubt Division 1 7, 8 years ago. So it's good though. Baseball's getting better. I think
better.
obviously
Metrics are getting better. I don't know if the baseball IQ is getting better, but that's why we signed up to coach, so we can make sure it's better.
Well, you get kids that come through and well, Manley didn't play for me and neither did Ewart or Garrick, but if you get a kid off my team, he'll know how to run the bases and he'll know about all that. So
I know the Maris guys knows how to run the triple option. If we ever started playing triple option in the outfield, there'd be nasty.
Yeah, you got to do a flag football team. Little pickup game. So, Coach, I don't want to keep you too long. I know you probably got golf or a list that's growing in behind you. So I appreciate you coming back on.
You're the best.
And I'm sure we'll be in contact, of course.
We'll probably see you soon.
Good luck, and I'll be watching you in the spring again.
All right. You're my guy. I'll talk to you soon, Seb.
All right.
Goodbye.
Later, JJ.